Hello everybody, welcome back to a new video. Today I'm going to do a tutorial on Psytrance percussions and a few things you can do with them. So let's just get started with this project. And as you can see, I made a little template here. We have a kick and a bass. Very simple stuff, sounds like this. I have to turn my volume up a bit. We also have these three other tracks, which are basically how I go about doing this. And I'm gonna do this from scratch, but just to give you an idea of some of the things you can do with this. Here is that's a percussion loop generated completely by this technique, and it only takes a little bit to do it, and the variations you can get from it are slightly random, but also very unique. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a drum rack, and before that I like to add an arpeggiator and a random device. And for now I'm just gonna put the chance up to 100, and I'm gonna set the rate to 1/16. I'm also gonna press a note and turn the random off to see where it's going. I'm pressing the C key, and I'd like to go at C1, so I have this space to work with as like my, my area to work with, these 16 drum pads. So I'm gonna put this on, and as you can see now, what is happening is that every 16th note another random note is taken. But for some reason, because of the way this random plugin works, it adds the 12 choices to it, so it doesn't actually add 0. And therefore if we want to set this up correctly, we have to use a pitch and set it to -1 semitone to subtract that one again. And now we can start actually making our samples, or our drum loop here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to go through my sample pack. It's really not very important which samples you use. I'm just gonna get a few. We'll get some in G, and we'll put them in here. And I guess is this okay? So this is an F sharp. So let's just try to tune that to. That's gonna take a little bit. Now this is in G. Okay, we'll get a few more. Do I actually have them in F sharp? No, I don't. I'm just not even listening to them. It's just kind of random which ones I take. And these have to go up by 2. And we'll also take some of the low percussions here. I'll take these 4 here. And I'm gonna leave a few of them blank, so then later we can have some, I can show you we have some silences in our loop. So let's go over what we're doing now. I'm first gonna put this at 16, and I'm gonna just play that, and you can hear that we have some spots where it's silent and some spots where it's not. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold this key down, and for some reason it doesn't show up in the. Well, to fix that, all you have to do is create a different MIDI track and just play it on here, and then you can drag this in. Okay, so we have our drum rack here, and a big problem now is that they're overlapping. So for each sample we have to actually put it on gate mode, which if you're working with a lot of samples, like if this thing is full, I believe there's a way to set up a default version of the simpler inside the drum thing, but I don't really know how it's done. So now it's playing only when the note is actually triggered. But we have this gate here, which is set at 50%. So if we open it up or close it, you get that. So we can either do the fade out thing, or we can just open up the gate here, and then it will be just cutting it off straight away. So I don't know, do I have a map to siblings? Yes, I do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this back at 50, and I'm just gonna... Does that not work? Is there no... Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so now we have slightly release tail, as you can hear. Which is good enough for me. So what I'm now gonna do is I'm going to resample this. So select the drum as our input, and I'm gonna keep the monitoring off because I don't want to hear it. I'm just gonna first of all, as you can see, it's now really random and yeah, kind of useless. But what we can do is we can start cutting up this loop, and now you can start to make all kinds of stuff. And in this case, we're gonna do a just a simple loop for in this drop here. But you can also use it for fills or whatever. And it's a really powerful way to create some quick fills or any other sound, basically. I'll leave this there, and we'll have this as an ending, and then we'll put this here. I'm just kind of like copying over and rearranging this thing. We'll put this here too, and actually, no, I'm gonna put this here, and then we'll put this here, and then we'll put this there. So we have like an A, B, A, C section. And what might be nice is to have a little bit of a break in there. So I'm gonna delete these. It doesn't really matter because we're gonna change it anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep the original, because that's always a good idea. And I'm gonna go here to number 12, and I'm gonna resample that. Alright, we'll resample this. Now this is where one of the biggest tricks comes in, is if you put this on texture mode and you change the tuning, you get really nice you get this really nice yeah, it's like a granular synthesis kind of feeling, which is really cool. And what I like to do is take this and then make like a nice loop this is the percentage of this bar. So it's basically just modulating this bar down here over time. And just by placing random notes on there and having it loop, you can get some really nice and so that's a really cool way. And I also like to simultaneously do a small amount of pitch modulation. Something very simple like +4 semitones, like, or we can go to -4 here and do something like this. Now you might notice that you have all these transients that are not in the rhythm, and we're actually going to add to that by using a delay, because we're going to try to make like this texture, and then using an LFO later we're going to retransform that into an actual percussion loop. So now we have this texture here, and if I now go to my effects and use LFO tool, or you can use anything that has an LFO and allows you to make a shape and timing. I'm just gonna make a nice percussion-like shape here, and I'm gonna put it to 1/16. And I'm also going to add maybe a bandpass filter. Let's set it to 12 for now. And using this you can make something really cool. What I like to do is have this wavy. So you just do that and then it goes. And you can see we have all these transients and kind of things, and the more sharper you make this curve, by for example doing something like this, you get a really nice percussion loop back. And you can also add a OTT to really get more out of it. You just turn up the time and that thing. Give it a bit more high end. Also turn down the delay a bit. So that you have this nice drum loop which you can put under your drops and have a bit more of texture. And this technique also works really well for getting as I said, getting fills. You can just have this random thing kind of create fills for you with the samples that you like. And yeah, the second part where I do the effects and this warp mode with the texture is a really cool way of just having a percussion loop and then adding something to it to make it yours. Because this is a really cool technique. I think, which you can use even if you have like samples and you just drop in a random drum loop from a sample pack. You can still make it sound completely different just by using this technique. And combining the two give you like instant opportunities to a lot of different sounding drum loops for under your tracks. So if you liked it, well, first of all, thank you. And I hope you subscribe for future content, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.